facial.
For free facial on the show. Yeah. Hello, girls.
Hello, yes. Hello,
Hi.
hello, everybody. The coffee's ready, which means it's time to chit-chat. It's time to talk, time to debate. What does our logo say?
Let's celebrate.
Let's celebrate. Let's talk. So that's exactly what we're doing. Hello, everybody. You are welcome to another great episode of Let's Talk with me, Nolu, Sammy, Ginny, and Neo. We're here today to discuss a topic that is quite controversial in South Africa right now, actually. And we're here to dive into it. Come into this conversation with an open mind and an open heart, because that's what this table is all about. So we are discussing farm murders. Yes, it is a big topic at the moment, quite controversial. Now, I don't even want us to get into the topic before discussing how it came about, because we all introduce topics to each other on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
Yes, and there was a bit of typical, I think it was a typical representation of what's happening in South Africa.
Yeah.
There was a bit of push and pull about should we even be discussing this? So to get into how this topic came about, Sammy, I think you can start telling us how it all came about. She does that face because she doesn't like it when I'm like, Sammy. Sammy.
Okay, well, I know that Jins at some point had mentioned, this is crazy, we need to talk about it, it's a pertinent issue that's happening. And when I put it onto our WhatsApp group, where I was like, guys, let's chat about this, look at what's happening. The stats are skyrocketing, and everyone
Was it even on the WhatsApp group?
I think it actually happened first at the end of our other shoot. Yes,
Oh no, you
tell us
did
about-
see it because you responded, but you didn't respond to that. So you kept responding to stuff. But every time I said farm murders, it was like silence.
Not farm murders.
Silence.
So remind us of
Ginny
how
brought
it
it up.
actually came up in our.
So I think after the gender-based violence, while we were busy shooting, it was a situation of, because there was so much media behind it, and finally the president had acknowledged that this is an issue. I was like, guys, we've got to speak about it. And we had a conversation afterwards, and it was the response.
No, never mind. Before
It was we were in a debate, but the professionals that we are compartmentalized, and was like, we'll talk about it later. Was that it's an issue that I think, being a part of the group, is an issue that I don't think we have a lot of education on and what is going on, and there was a bit of resistance, and for me it was
There was some
strong resistance.
resistance.
Can I
But
just
I think,
say,
I think maybe from the aspect of, it was me coming from the clicks, to the forefront of the clicks scenario and the situation, and coming and going, guys, this is something that's vitally important for us to discuss as a group. This is what our group is about. It's about things that I didn't understand, that I had to look at myself and go, you know what, this is not right in the country. And also just being a part of a narrative to say, if you don't understand, ask. We'll tell you and we'll talk about it. You know what I mean? So yes, there was resistance, but like we can in our country, we can sit down around a table, and it doesn't have to be an issue of race. It doesn't have to be an issue of who knows who. It's how do we get to a common ground and say, there's awareness now. It's something that's in my mind, and it's something that is really pertinent to what's going on in South Africa at the moment. And I mean, Senekal was a serious situation. I mean, for to be the statistic for this to now come to the forefront, and people are going, yes, it is a problem, and it's a massive issue. So I think it's really sitting and discussing and going, what makes it a massive issue? What is the issue? What is the issue per se? Or what is the misconception about the issue?
Yeah, and I think the important word is the misconception around it, because I want us to even go back
From
again
there,
to why it's important to discuss why we are so reluctant to discuss it.
Correct.
And Neo and I were like, what is the problem? What is the issue? But what was your initial thought about it when it came up as a topic?
Yeah, so clearly there was a WhatsApp thing that I clearly
You
missed.
missed and you didn't know.
And after that, it was the end of the.
Bias, you somehow didn't see it.
No, I think it's not even that. It's so. Can I just say? And I think it's a reflection of a lot of South Africans. And Jin said we need to talk about it, and then I'm like, but what is there to talk about? And I can imagine Jin felt hurt about my statement. That I said, what is there to talk about? Because and you said, but if we can talk about Black Lives Matter, all these topics, why can't we talk about that? And I think all the time I've heard Farm Lives Matter. I've never heard it from a topic on its own. It's always been on the back burner of Black Lives Matter, and then it's like, no, all lives matter and farm lives matter. And the most noise makers of this topic has been a political agenda and not a true agenda of what it is. And I think the everyday South African has been hearing that agenda, that it's
The
on a
AfriForum
the-
far right wing
yes,
agenda.
and I don't think it's a fair voice, and it's not giving it the right airtime or the right representation of the issue, especially also when it comes in on the back burner of Black Lives Matter, because it's totally different issues. I learned in corporate when we used to do like performance management, and someone saying, this is wrong, and therefore the manager also did this. And when all the issues come up together, the important one will be lost. And I think we've lost what it's about. I don't know how, and as such, Jins was hurt. I hurt my
Yes.
friend, guys.
Yes, and I think the reason why I wanted us to share the story of how it affected us as a group is because I felt it was a real representation of what's happening in our country. Where anytime it comes up, there's people on the other side saying it's not an issue. There's people saying, but Black Lives Matter, which are doing the same thing we're complaining about, saying, don't say Farm Lives Matter when people say Black Lives Matter, but also don't say Black Lives Matter when people are saying Farm Lives Matter.
Yes.
Don't take away from the issues that are happening. And so you were hurt. I think you were also hurt about it because you felt like we didn't care. And for me, I came and I said, guys, I want to understand what is the issue. I've never been in a situation where I read the stats and I mean, you hear it in the news once or twice a year. Yes, you hear there's something happening there. But I was like, I want us to have this conversation so that we can actually dive into what is the issue
The
around
real
farm
issue,
murder. So can you just tell us what is the issue?
So for me, just to round off what you're saying and to agree with you, is that for me, coming from that standpoint, I think why I was so hurt initially was because if I say something, it falls on deaf ears. It's just another white person complaining about a situation that is stereotypically
But that's what
white.
people do,
People
right?
switch
It's like,
off.
here's
People
another
completely
white
switch
person
off
complaining.
when it's an issue of race, and that's why I sort of reflected in a social media post. If I don't stand up against race issues, if it's a black injustice, I need to. My voice is the loudest in that situation. So when we come to this forefront and we go, well, Jin's going to speak about it, a lot of people are just going to look and go, well, you know what is she carrying on about? What is it?
Here we go
Until
again.
someone goes, until someone from your side goes, guys, this is wrong. And there's a gentleman, I want to refer to him on social media, will do that, who's really standing on the forefront and going, it's not okay. It's not a white or black issue. It's a problem. It's a, a point was brought up during our conversation briefly was, township murders. Yes, violence is a problem in our country, but they've done a comparison between the maliciousness and the violence that is inflicted on the farm community, level of brutality, thank you,
And I think that's
opposed to what is going on in the township is far greater in the farming communities. And for me, guys, that is unacceptable. People should not be fearful of living or working in a community because of what is going to happen to them in a rural area. It is not right. It is not right for our Indian population. It's not right for our African population. It's not right for the white, colored, whoever is from our farming community. It is not right for them to live in fear. That is not what Nelson Mandela fought for. That is not what our forefathers fought for. That's not what I want to see the change. And for me, if I want to see change, I've got to be the change. And I think that's why it was such a big knock to the system, was to go, if this group is standing here going, there's a divide, we came together, and if we can have that conversation and pull together and go, okay, it is something we need to talk about, the misrepresentation, the misconcept,
the wrong agenda,
the wrong
the
agenda.
wrong narratives.
We need to then stand as a group, and if we can do it, then the whole country can do it. You know what I mean? So looking at statistics, for me, the massive victory in the last month has been that the president has come out and said this is a problem. You talking about not hearing about it in the media because it wasn't treated like anything. It wasn't newsworthy. People were being brutally murdered. They were being they were assaulted. They were being tortured. It was torture. We were standing, going and looking and going, are we alone? Are we standing in a place where we don't have a right to say anything? Because remember, in Heritage Day, I said sometimes it feels like my heritage is offensive to people. So some people might say, well, you know what? You're deserving what you get. Look what you did. And you know what? Maybe that's why certain people spew the violence and incite violence the way they do against white people in the country. Because some maybe haven't felt. And you know what? If that is the way you feel, I can see there's a deep-rooted hurt, and I can only empathize with you. I didn't come from that in South Africa, but I can understand where it comes from. But what my dream and my vision is to say, maybe you will change your mind. Maybe another individual will change their mind on how they see the farm murders, because it's not only a white issue. There are Indian farmers that are being brutally murdered. There are black farmers and farm workers. There are communities that are crying out, going, please don't hurt our farmer, rather torture us. That is how much love is in that community for, it's not a white issue or a black issue.
Or what they said is, please leave our staff alone.
And please
If
leave
you're
our
attacking
staff,
us, leave
yes.
our staff. Don't
And
hurt
vice versa. Some have been gone on the forefront where they are on the front line and they're going, please don't go up to the house, rather hurt us. So there's so much love that what are we looking at that we can't see the love in the community, because people understand what each party brings. The farmer cannot do it without the farm worker, and the farm worker cannot do it without the farmer, and vice versa, in that there's not only white farmers. So for me, it's like, let's get away from what we perceive is the color or the polarization of this issue, and move towards how do we really give it the right airtime, and how do we support gentlemen that are going out and going, this is wrong.
You know how I think we do it? By sharing, educating people on what the issue is.
Correct.
And you're very good at that. You're very good at like bringing together, these are the stats, this is what's happening.
This is the research.
This is the real,
Here we go.
This is the real deal. So I really want you to, yeah, like she's got like 10, and here I am with my 2.
It's speech time.
Yes, in class.
My topic today, class,
Yeah.
is
So you're
farm
very good
murders.
at that. I want you
Okay,
to
let's
get
start
into
with,
what
this
the
is
issues
not
are.
farm murders. The issue is farm attacks. It doesn't always result in a murder. The percentage of murders is actually quite a lot less than those who are just brutally attacked.
I think that's key. Do you want to say it again? Because that's the crux of the issue.
I
Say
know
it
what
again.
you're saying. Yeah, I know what.
So the percentage of murders is less than those that are left assaulted. However, I'd like to say that the assaults are rather brutal.
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm saying is the key issue, that it's the assault and the manner in which
Yeah,
these attacks
but we'll
are-
get there.
Yeah, okay.
We'll get there. So firstly, I'd like to say is this a white issue? And no, it's not. We've had our own president say this is not a white issue. We've had, I've forgotten her name, but she's a black woman at the who oversees an agricultural organization. It's not a white issue, purely white issue. We've had the head of Agri-SA say this is not a purely white issue. But the media and AfriForum, again, far right-wing narrative that they have, are trying to make it seem like this is a white issue. And I'm not, from AfriForum I can understand the agenda, but the media, why do you want to create this divide?
Again. News. They want news and likes and whatever.
No, but why are they downplaying it? You know, there's propaganda in the media. They are trying to intentionally downplay farm attacks.
What it
And
is
yes,
really,
yes.
what it really
what
is.
the real problem is, yeah. Okay.
If we're looking just at stats, okay, 66% of farmers and their families of all races are attacked. And then there's 26, from the total. So if you're looking at those attacks, so of all attacks, 66% have been on the farmer himself and or family members of his. And then 26% is his workers and or their families. So let's be honest, a large portion of farm workers are black. Okay, if we're just going to look at some stats, so it was really hard to find very authenticated stats in terms of racial numbers. And I don't know why they're not doing this. But when you, there was one very accurate stat I was able to find at the beginning of, and this is, I'm stating all of these things to show that this is not a white issue. This is a South African issue. This is a South African farming industry agricultural issue. There were 15 farm attacks that happened in the first 3 months of 2018, and only 8 of those were white-owned farms. So that's an approximately 50-50 ratio. I know that we're taking a very short period, but unfortunately, whether it's within agriculture, within media, or within the SAPs, those stats are not being highlighted or in the media. Also, I found a stat that showed that over some period between 2016 and 2017, there were, I've got it here somewhere, 19 black-owned farms attacked within the Mpumalanga region alone. 19 farms in one region, black-owned. 4 of those men were killed. 4 of those farmers were killed. Black farmers. So again, not a white issue. I also just have a little stat here. 30 non-white farmers in KZN over several months attacked. So again, my question is, what's behind the agenda of the
That's been
media?
driven to ignore it. And what I think what you raised was very important, that you realize is about the brutality of what's happening. Because the argument for this in doing the research I found was that people are like, okay, but there's 21,300 and something murders in South Africa a year. 47 of those are white farmers. So what's the big deal? But the big deal is it's not just about, and that's just the white farmers. They didn't count the Indian farmers, the black farmers that you just mentioned. They just made it, they minimize. It's like the aim is to minimize the farm attack issues and racialize it, that, there's only 47 white farmers out of 21,000 people that are killed. Therefore, what's the big issue again? And there is that feeling in me that is like there is a propaganda against, farm attacks and hiding the reality of farm attacks. Yes.
And I'd love to know what that agenda is.
And for me, it's not only an issue of shedding a light on it. For me, it's looking at it that people don't understand the impact it has on the economy. People are looking at it very sheltered and with blinkers on. We need to look at all the facts. When we are attacking this community, it doesn't, at this stage, it doesn't matter. This industry, correct, this industry. We are attacking the economy, which is already severely constrained by what is going on within the government and corruption and COVID and our pandemic. We need to also understand that psychologically, another statistic is it takes up to 5 years for them to rehabilitate after something has happened. So psychologically, it's not just a move on. In Johannesburg or the metropolitans, we seem to just, there's a hijacking, move forward. There's this, move forward. We're looking at a community that is taking 5 years to come back to them.
Well, can I just interject there? Yes. What Jin is trying to say is that when a farm is abandoned because you've killed the farmer and you've killed his workers, or if you just killed the farmer alone, you must remember there's a huge process that has to go through of winding up estates before that farm can even be sold again. So it's approximately 5 years before that farm becomes viable again to even start being planted.
Here's the question: what is the motivation? Because initially I thought it's about that they're trying to grab land. It's like land grabbing issue. They're trying to kill the farmer, kill everyone there, and then get the land, and then But now it's like if you're killing them and you are, there's a low percentage. And there's a low percentage of actually stealing things from the house. They kill them, and I think it's like 26% of the murders are theft related. It's a very low percentage. I think it was 26%. And so, what's the motivation?
That's what I'd like to. That's, I think, the question that all of us have on our minds. What is the motivation behind targeting a community?
Well, what Cyril and the
President
Cyril Ramaphosa. I apologize for not using your prefix.
Mr. Ramaphosa, we love you.
Maybe we must have him.
Come tell us what the agenda is. Okay, so he says, and I think that there's a lot of, even from, the MEC, Ivan Meyer, MEC in the Western Cape of Agriculture, and a few other people have said that this is opportunistic criminality. And I can understand that to an extent, okay? But where I start to just get confused about, is that enough, is, again, criminality, or if you're just saying it's just opportunistic, shouldn't there be more theft? Shouldn't you leave behind more reasons for why you came? And why the brutality? So that makes me believe that there is some degree of racial motivation. And I also think there's a deeper systemic psychological issue that we need to delve into separate from this in terms of crime as a broad spectrum in South Africa. Because brutality on the farm, in terms of the farm issue, yes. But to say that it's not equally as brutal in the townships, I think is wrong. It's because we haven't educated ourselves enough about what happens in the townships. People are mutilated in the townships.
Every
Mutilated.
week I read the most
So I
horrible
think
stories,
brutality is a general issue within crime in South Africa. And I would love if someone could explain why. Why are we so angry? Why are we so hateful? And how is it that we've become these people that can actually carry out this level of violence? There's a sickness that has come into our country from a criminal violence perspective.
And I think that's so important because I also think that we need to really identify the problem and stop letting the media dictate what the narrative is. Violence across the board, people should not be fearful living in our country. That is not what God intended. That is not what was intended when we were put on this earth, is to live in constant fear, whether it is someone that's coming from the township or someone that's on a farm. We shouldn't, and that is correct. We need to get to the root issue, and we need to stop lending our ears to people that are just inciting violence and spewing hatred and causing divide. Because what I do know is that when we come together as a country, we will be unstoppable. We will be unstoppable.
Yeah, I think also the very important fact here is to be honest with each other. Because the media will feed us what the media wants to feed us. And we will consume and consume. And I think it's really important for us to be authentically real with each other. And I remember after this, I was like, I don't understand why Jins is hurt, but I have another friend I can talk to and really be raw about different racial issues. And I think what she said was a very nice way for me to understand. And she was saying, all lives matter, but when something happens to your life, I, as a co-South African, I need to stop all lives matter and listen to your issue. When something happens to you, I need to stop and empathy, guys. And I think we need to share these stories with each other. Honestly engage in what is hurtful. Get to the true crux of what hurts, what's wrong, and wondering why would a person do this? And I can also share when I've got whatever issues I've got, you can be empathetic towards me. And I think our empathy, I think we're the most, as much as there is so much brutal violence, but I think we're the most empathetic people I know in the world.
Is that true though?
I
Because I
think
posed
so.
this question to you, and perhaps here we can answer it. And I had said to you, why does it need to be so over-explained to you for you to empathize? Before you answer, because empathy doesn't require you to have someone make you understand, but if something was attacking you as a black person, you'd want me to, do you know? So I mean, like, you should, this is a human issue. Again, you know, even if it was purely white farmers,
issue, yeah.
let's say this was
Actually,
purely
what
white
you say.
farmers, why should I have to sit here
And say
and
it's not
prove
a
to a
white issue.
nation
It's not
that
a white
actually, you
issue,
know what,
yeah.
black people are also affected? That's then not empathy. That's then saying, oh, it's affecting me too. Okay, let me get on board.
And I wanted to actually say that that even if it was a white issue, because a lot of what you said was it's not purely a white issue. Even if it was purely a white issue,
It's a human
it's
issue.
a human issue. People would be getting massacred, and we're sitting back saying, it's white people again. No, that's not who I believe we are as a people.
But why has that been our response as a nation? Because it has been.
I don't know. For the rest of them, I don't know. But I can say for me, and I explained this, and I think for Newa as well, it was, first of all,
not knowing it's an issue, not knowing farm murders is an issue.
yes,
So there's a,
violence in our country.
yes, it's just violence in our country. So if there's another story about a person who's been brutally attacked, and we read these on a daily basis, you're just like, oh my gosh, not again, hey, South Africa.
Yeah.
So I didn't notice that there was a farm issue, you know, and regardless of white or black, I didn't know that. And remember, even the questions I posed was like, is it a real issue? What is happening, Sammy? I specifically
So
said,
like
you know,
almost, is it a segmented?
Like,
Is it,
please tell
is
me.
it actually just,
yeah,
get
I was
what
like,
you're
please
saying?
tell me, are
this
farmers being
happening?
murdered like as badly as it seems, where we need to have a discussion around it. And in going back and doing the research, then you find that, okay, there is an issue. And it cannot be downplayed by the statistics that were fed about the general murders. If there is an issue in any community of people being murdered, it's wrong. That's the South Africa I would like to live in, is the one where we can always say, if anyone is affected, a child, an adult, a black person, a white person, a granny, and it's unacceptable.
woman.
It's unacceptable, you know?
That's the narrative, that no one should feel unsafe in our country. And I don't think it should be explained in a there's black people in this, but there's a human thing happening. And I think we need to really understand, and I think this is very critical, that there's a media agenda.
Correct.
So when you get angry at the media agenda. There's also a human issue.
There's also a political agenda.
There's also
Please, not naming any names, but there's a political
We all
agenda.
know.
So let's not get the issues muddled. And I think we really need to be, and empathy is understanding what really is wrong.
What is the problem?
If I can walk in your shoes, then I know, oh my goodness, I actually feel what you're feeling. If you just explain to me and I don't understand, I'll still be having not an authentic feel, but if you're telling me this is what's happening, and not that just white people or white people and their people, it's just a person being brutally murdered. It's wrong. There is no...
So I agree with that. That's my position. So that's why I was confused with your response, because it seemed like it's not enough that someone was killed.
No, but you had also said you had done the research, remember? Because you said, when I said, what happened? You said, no, Lou, I was like this. I also went
thought
through it.
this is-
I
this is
did.
a white
So you've
agenda,
been
this
here
is a
where we
white
are
agenda.
now. You've already passed the stage that we were at.
So I can say where
Yeah.
I was at is that when AfriForum came and said genocide, that was where I switched off. Not because I didn't care about what race it was, but when people started going genocide, I was like, please, can we stop being dramatic? This is not genocide. And if you want me to get on board when you with something that's so, it's incorrect. It's incorrect. So I can't then support something that's propagating a wrong narrative. You know, Rwanda was genocide. Nazi
And
Germany
downplaying what everybody else that
was
genocide went through.
genocide.
That was offensive.
Yes.
Period. Yeah.
So that was where I shut down. But I never shut down around the issue of someone was killed. And if it was a genocide aside, I sympathize that someone was killed.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's what I can't understand. It's why do we have to compare it to other issues in South Africa? Why can't it just be someone was killed?
Yes.
That was what I was trying to understand from your perspective.
And for me, what I'm noticing, and that's why these conversations are so important. I mean, looking at our last episode, if you haven't watched it, please go and have a look, is gender-based violence. We have become desensitized to violence. It's a violent issue. There are certain individuals that are acting in a violent, evil capacity across the board. So what do we need to do from my perspective is stop lending your ear to the wrong narrative. Go back to what Neo said and Nolu. It's a human issue. Do not listen to people incite violence, because we are all South Africans. For me, it's having these conversations and going, you know what, guys, it wasn't pleasant for me, and maybe it was coming from a place of hurt, and from you a place of hurt, which I've got to understand and empathize with as well. But what I do know is that for issues in our country to make a difference, I'm ready to fight. I'm ready to stand up for everybody in this country. I'm ready to do whatever it takes to make sure that there is a change in the way people react to certain issues. And if we do not talk, you will get people that will lend their ears to your friend might say, oh, you know what, that actually I learned something. Or one of my friends will go, you know what, I actually didn't see it from that perspective, because I find the common thread in all of these things is misconception. Our perception of the way you're acting,
Propaganda.
100%. But I'm talking about if I'm walking with Neo, like we've discussed, walking through a door first, I would not understand it unless you educated me and said, Jen, this is why I do X, Y, and Z. And this is why there's important. We have to. And it's going to be ugly and it's not going to be nice. But I'd rather have it ugly amongst my friends and we come out of it and go, you know what, actually, I see something different now, because
think about it a bit more.
that's contagious. That's contagious, guys. And that's the type of contagiousness I want. I want something that is going to ripple effect onto you in a positive manner. And it's going to ripple effect onto your family. And that's what we do here. We didn't have all the same view, and that's what's happening in our country. Not everyone. But what did we do? We came to a common ground. Yes, you might say, listen, oh, I'm not 100% with this or this yet, but we've already made ground. We've already nullified someone's violent, inciting of violence, hatred. We've nullified that. And for me, that is where I want to see us go. My dream, and I know it's like Martin Luther King, I have a dream. I have a dream. That, you know, I want to look at this and go, this is where we came from, and look at what we've done. Look at what we've done. We started in our communities, because I believe that's something that when you want to see a difference, start in your community. And that's here. That's us and our children and our children. And then we move forward. And if everybody is as receptive to as an open heart as you guys had, and it wasn't like, and I don't want to be part of the group anymore, and I just want to pack my bags and go.
And a lot of times is like that when you feel offended, not just on this issue, but if I say even on vice versa, if I bring something to friends of mine who look different from me, sometimes I'm like, okay, I don't even know if I'm going to make ground. It won't work out. And I feel that it's the same, because sometimes you don't even have the language to even explain and express what is the issue.
It just doesn't feel right.
It just doesn't feel right. And I know we've also stirred a lot of emotions about this topic.
Even
So
us, we're
I was
getting-
like, what? Does it feel right? Is not feeling right? Should we discuss this? And I think if we just go beyond that point of uncomfortability and go, okay, maybe I found the wrong language here. Maybe this is feeling, and then also afford each other that space to say, okay, maybe I said it wrong yesterday. I had to come to the table, guys, and say, flip, I was wrong. I didn't see this in that way. And not in a sense of I don't care about other people, but it's just, I didn't see it in that way. Explain it to me. Just give me in different words I understand. Give me, repackage it for me.
Explain. And that
explain.
was the beauty of it. I think it's also a two-part thing and that's why I said to the viewers, bring your heart into this conversation, because then you will connect to the issue even more. The fact that people are being murdered. You have to bring your heart into it. Because if you bring your brain into it, then you're going to start looking at statistics and being like, it's not a big issue. But the important thing is when you have these conversations, that's what I loved about you, Jen. You were so open to not explaining, because that sounds like you're teaching or you're like being like a principal, but you were so open to sharing what the issue is. Like just being like, I just want to share with you guys that there's a big problem that I really want us to address. Because sometimes people get judgmental, like, oh, you don't get it. You don't get it. I'm not even going to talk to you. But you could have done that. You could have been like, I can't believe they didn't welcome the topic with open arms, you know? But you were like, oh my gosh, I'm so hurt by the way in which the topic was welcomed it wasn't rejected, but it wasn't.
It was rejected.
I know.
Not by you. Neo rejected it. Point, like body language, all of it. She was like, what? What's the issue with?
I don't even think it was a rejection.
No, it was just we were on camera, and we just dramatic, like, whoa, why?
Just murders in the township, and then Jen was like, get back to. Sam is like, oh no.
I know you. I don't know you now.
But then the beautiful thing is she didn't say, oh my gosh, forget Neo. I'm never talking to her again. It's about love. Yes, and love says, I come back to you and I say, friend, here's the problem. I really want us to have a conversation more.
And
talk
it's
about
amazing
it.
because you held it out for a long time before you raised it.
And you were still fine in between.
She was calm. Yeah, she was
Fake it till you make it. We should give her the Oscar. I went through 2 weeks of feeling sick. Like I had this. I had a heart to heart. I didn't really tell you guys with Neil because we have a very deep sisterhood between us, you know, and so. So when I saw that, I was like,
Oh no.
I didn't know how to process it. I didn't want to process it. I felt sick. I felt like I don't know this person anymore, or that I was hoping that whatever happened there, I misunderstood. My deep hope was that I misunderstood.
And then I'm like, how can you think that of me?
And then I was like, that's it, Leo. I was like,
It's the reactions that come from
the way, and I think I told you that day as well, it was the choice of language, it was the tone, it was the body language. All of that together just made me go like, this is not who I know. This is not, and if this is seated in her heart, then that's a big concern for me, and that was why we had to have our conversation.
To say you don't know if I can stand up for you.
I felt like one, I was hurt on the behalf of the fact that these are just people, and it shouldn't have to be only people affecting your community. And I was like, but Neo's about diversity, so, and that's where she and I have on a lot of times connected. So now, what does this mean? Firstly, and secondly, if ever an issue comes up that affects my community, I don't have my bestest sister friend to rely on, because for her, it's about, please package it in a way that I don't get that package. It shouldn't be packaged in any way. The only package it needs is someone's being affected. A life is being affected.
I don't think, and we need to discuss it here, not packaging, explaining in a way I can
But
understand.
how much of explanation do you know what I mean? Like if I just go, someone got killed, it's enough. Like it shouldn't need deep language.
Being the person on the outside of this
Please explain
sisterhood.
it.
That's why I was saying the most important thing is communication and patience and heart with each other. If it's like your child, when your child does something wrong or something you don't agree with, you don't just say, I don't know who you are, and I will, I don't know who you are, my child, whatever. You go back and you explain, you say, listen, what you did was wrong, or what you did I don't agree with, and here's the teachable moment. So when you have the patience to have teachable moments with people, that's when you can really affect change. Because the minute you shut down because you're like, oh my gosh.
Let me give you this example that I gave Neo that day. I said to her, this is what I said to Neo, is that there was an issue, there was something I was assisting with her with, and there was so much misinformation about Black history in this issue. And I was deeply grieved. I mean, I told her I was going to help her out in 2 days. It took me 7 days because I had to keep taking a break from it. It was horrific that this wrong information was out there about Black history. It devastated me. And so I said to her, and this was something I raised on our Heritage Day, and I said, okay, but guys, this goes, so I was upset, yes, about that, but what about the fact that the Indian community and their influence in history and their role in apartheid, which was significant, is completely obliterated from any information. And so I was like, Neil, how come you are not as deeply devastated and hurt by my issue where there's no narrative versus how upset I am that there's a wrong narrative on your part?
I think that here we need to also understand what the non-hurt of it is. And Jen said it well, that we have become so desensitized, not to the murders, but to the coverage of it. Because that was the whole thing, that we need to cover this issue, not we need to feel sorry that there's murders. I get that. And I'm saying there's And my answer was there's township murders. There's a lot of other.
Yeah, so what you were saying is why must we talk about farm murders
So
when there's
passion-
murder?
Yeah, not out of.
There's
Yeah.
lots of murders.
That
to
was,
say
There's
farmers
women
don't
murders,
Yeah, yeah,
there's
yeah.
child murders, there's
Why
township
can't we-
murders.
and
topic,
also, can I just say
murders.
that was from 2 weeks back. I got a call that my neighbor was brutally murdered in front of lots of children for a girlfriend.
Yes. And so you're thinking, why is this murder issue one we must sit here and have a whole topic about? I get you. Ah! There it is.
I
There
was
it
getting
is.
worried. I said a little
There
prayer.
it
I'm
is.
like,
Did
please,
you?
Lord,
Did you ask Jesus?
please, Lord, I can't do it anymore.
Thank you, Holy Spirit.
But I think that's the whole crux. We need to attack the murder. We need to attack the violence. We need to attack that issue. And that's where we're going to make a difference. And if we can replicate what we did, I mean, we should be, Uncle Cyril, Mr. Ramaphosa, can we come to Parliament? I think we got.
This is another thing that might need to be cut. My pastor's pastor up. Just saying, hashtag.
But I think what we need to get to, and this is where this needs to ripple effect, and we need to be the voice again. I can be the voice because we've now shown statistically that this isn't only a white issue. So we need to, as a team, change.
it's a problem.
Correct. But the thing is, we're now going to try and change a mindset. You must remember, this has been noted and made newsworthy in a sense of that it's a white thing. So, and you do have, listen, I am not ignorant to the fact that there is so much hurt. Like I said to Sammy and I said to Nat, I know there's hurt. I can't run away from our Heritage Day. Check the episode out if you want to get. I can't run away from that. But what I can do is I can try and address the root, which is hurt. And looking at it and going, but why must I go behind this plight if this is what happened? I need to change a mindset. And I need my sisters to stand with me and go, we need to change the mindset. Do not lend your ears, and we are saying this from the bottom of our heart, do not lend your ears to what is going on. It is newsworthy.
Yes.
Townships is newsworthy. We are not desensitized. We are fighting violence now. We are not fighting farm murders. It is important to understand. I am grateful that there has been, because it's all the lives that matter. I'm glad that the president has finally put a spotlight on it and acknowledged that this is a problem. But violence in total is a problem. We need to get to the root. We need to stop looking at the distractions caused by the media. They've got nothing to do with the people sitting at this table. We are all South Africans, and it's a South African issue.
And we all need to feel that we belong here.
Yes. And also, I just want to say that maybe what we need to do is take a step back when someone says something that we might not agree with. The best form of reaction is to maybe take a step back. Offense is taken, not given. So where do I feel this? And then process and have a conversation, because what we do is we are so wound up. It is the economy, it is violence, it is education, and we are ready to fight. Let's use our fight for good.
Yes.
On that note,
Man.
on that perfect
I
note,
want to say, after we've had our kumbaya moments and our aha moments, it's a very critical point to make that's more informative. And that is that this needs to be seen beyond, so yes, the human aspect, that no one should be harmed. But there's also the economic aspect. And this is a huge impact on our economy for two reasons. One, it's attack on our food supply. And this isn't lightly said. And the agricultural industry is genuinely scared of how we're going to sustain food in South Africa. A lot of our food is exported. That's economic. So we're not in an economy that can afford to have its export deterred or decreased. And beyond that, if you're looking at, let's say, on a small holding, there's 50 employees. On a large farm, there's 300 employees. You kill purely the farmer and his family. No one now owns that farm. Where do those several hundred of employees go? Are we in a place where we can actually say, yes, we can have more joblessness? No. How do those people feed their families? This is about that farm worker no longer has a farm to go to work to. That means he cannot feed his children. That is what we're doing when we're killing farmers, guys. We're taking food out of our country, we're taking money out of our economy, and we're causing families of farm workers to be destroyed because they can't support themselves.
Yeah, sure. It's a lot to think about, but I'm glad that we had the conversation and we found a happy middle ground to say, people, we need to have these types of conversations. If today didn't help, go out into your own communities with your friends and have the conversation and ask, what is the issue on farm murders? Do your research, Google. I mean, I was on Google and I got enough info.
Don't Google Quant.
Well, use Quant.
Q-W-A-N-T, Quant.
Yes. But find the information yourself and really think with your heart. Think with your heart. Murders are wrong anyway, across the board. With that being said, thank you for tuning in to another episode. Until we see you again right here on YouTube, follow our Facebook page, our Instagram page. Follow us everywhere. Like, share, subscribe. We love you. Goodbye and God bless.